Oh, you lot concentrated, innit? Bharat, mate,
You're live.
Bharat.
You're live.
We're
You're live
live, we're
right now.
live, we're
You're
live.
live.
Oi,
You're live.
Bharat, army,
It's
Bharat,
been
army.
it's been about 2 months since we came on live. I forgot how to bloody put an intro on. We're live. Welcome back. We're back. Liverpool are not back because Liverpool will always be here. But we took a little break. Some took their wisdom tooth out and then got some side effects after that. Some went abroad. The Charlie Chocolate Factory became really busy. And Mr. Wonka was really busy and still is really busy. And then Ramadan came. So Ramadan Mubarak to all our Muslim friends. And Ramadan Mubarak to everyone because it's a month of love. It's a month of prayer. It's a month of reflection. And most importantly, looking to the most unfortunate. So blessings and peace to all of you who take part and don't take part as well. And it's been a while. I think the last time we came live, boys, was when we won the league. So we thought we won the league. Forget about it. It's done. But then Newcastle game, it was a really professional, really brilliant performance by Liverpool. We don't need to go back over the Newcastle game. It's been and gone. We know exactly what happened. And I'm sure we've talked about it enough between our friends. But yesterday, I think it was the return of Houllier, return of Benitez, return of Jose. It was a different type of performance, and we'll delve into it. But how are you, boys? How are you keeping? And I missed you, man. I know I talk to you on a daily basis, but it's something else sharing a screen. But how are you, Avi? I'll go to you first. Your one wisdom tooth lighter. Two. No wonder you took 2 weeks off. Well, how are you, man? How are you coping? You recovered?
Much better, much better. Once the anesthetic started wearing off, that's when I started getting a lot of trouble. But no, all good. Asim, it's been a long while. I think it might even like coincidentally coincide with the downfall of the Pakistan cricket team.
Oh, yeah, this guy,
Obviously,
man.
hosting host nation, host nation.
Normally,
Obviously, the
normally,
host nation
Pakistan
couldn't
cricket
get
is a
out the group stages, but that's another argument. And don't worry, I'm working with the PCB of making some real changes in the coming years. They all need some
I
work
mean,
done. But
you were
all good, all good. Yesterday, surprising that you mentioned Houllier. There was a lot of reminiscence of Houlier's days in the UEFA Cup, that 2001 run of yesterday's performance. But yeah, it was a brilliant result. You know, I've always, honestly, this is going to sound really silly now, but these results are always the most satisfying. And
yeah, I know what
it's
you mean.
very rare that Liverpool get that result. Even through Klopp's tenure, Benitez, even after, we literally didn't even lay a glove on them up until the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the game. And usually these kind of results happen to the likes of Manchester United back in the days, you know, year in and year out, upon year, under Fergie's era. They were doing this quite a lot. So it's so satisfying, Asim, that we were able to, it was a snatch and grab job in Paris. So, big up the players, huge respect to the players that came on, great effort, and the fan base as well that travelled over. And we'll dive into it. But otherwise, doing well. It's recovered now, so we're back on now. Tomorrow is World Chip and Sheen, so be careful of that one because that will be a rowdy one as well.
Gene, I think you rang me about 4 times during the game, more so in the first half. But it was one of them, and it's been a while since I watched a Liverpool game. I don't watch many games at home, but it was edge of the seat stuff because it just felt like a big European night, 2 really good teams coming together. But we were really nervous, as in the fans, because we're not used to seeing our team get dominated, especially in the first half. And that's why you kept on ringing me, fucking going crazy on the phone. But how are you and your general thoughts on the game?
I'm good, Asim, especially after yesterday's performance. How can you not be satisfied? How can you not be buzzing? You turn up against arguably one of the best sides in Europe, especially over the last 2 months, get completely outplayed for 87 minutes, and then with the only chance, every chance you have, you get the win, and you walk away from Paris 1-0 up, and hopefully that will take us into the next round. I'm confident that we will get into the next round. But in terms of yesterday, Asim, what can you say? It was obviously just reminded me of that Man City game away in the Champions League quarterfinal when the year we got in, because they just absolutely peppered us for 45 minutes. And I was just sat there thinking, when is this? I was just praying for half time. It was 30 minutes. I'm ringing Asim saying 15 minutes to go. We just need to get half time. But once it got to half time, Asim, I just had this feeling. And I messaged on the group, I saying, you know what? We're going to nick this. Because they missed so many chances in that half. And, you know, credit to Slot, credit to you. You spoke about the tweak that Slot made. And I'm sure you're going to speak about that a lot more in detail. But for everything, for Darwin Núñez to be the difference when he came on, it was, you know, it was refreshing to see, because it was brilliant what he did, the weight of the pass, and then of all people, Harvey Elliott comes again in Europe and gets us the winner right at the end, man. You know, you can't. And look, I just want to say one thing. If there was any club, and I tweet this today, if there's any club in Europe that deserved luck, it's us. We finished top of the table with, you know, with unbin, and the last game we should have won because we just rested players, practically 100% record, and we got arguably the most informed side in Europe in the last 16. So, you know, we deserved a bit of luck, and yes, we definitely got that luck yesterday. So, you know, it equals itself out in that sense. So, look, I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm buzzing for Slot. I'm buzzing for the players, and I'm buzzing for this team, because we saw how much it meant to them, meant to the players at the end of the game.
Avi, I want to come to you regarding the team. You tweeted the day before the game and you said, I want Curtis Jones to play. You wanted the City model, the Newcastle model, even though they were slightly different in shape, but they had 4 midfielders. Do you, I know hindsight's a great thing, but if you had still had a choice, would you have gone for Curtis Jones just for extra ball retention?
I would have gone for that system with Jones coming in, Asim, purely because, look, I'm not going to say that I know more than anyone here or more than you two. I watch a fair share of PSG here and there. You know, like I watch highlights of them. I do like the youth. I do like the new policy that they're bringing in. They're not going for prima donnas. I keep mentioning that word with this PSG team. They are no longer going for the Messi, Suarez's, the David Luiz's, you know, the prima donnas. They have a structure now in place. And Luis Campos has come in now, and he's trying to change that, like buying young players. And Vitinha, João Neves, and Fabian Ruiz. Fabian Ruiz, I have waxed lyrical before because he's Spanish, and you know, arguably my favorite Spanish. You know, the Spanish national team is my favorite, and he's been a linchpin in that Spanish team in the last 2 years. Vitinha is a little maestro. João Neves, we all know about. You know, it's not rocket science. The player that everyone sort of was vying for at Benfica gets his move to PSG, and we saw him against Man City as well. He absolutely ran the show at 20 years old. I just felt those profile midfielders, they have the perfect balance around the world. I think those three, as a tandem, individually may not be better than our individuals, but as a team, as for balance, they're so coordinated with one another. And that's why I said when Jones was coming in, they would have compressed, maybe him and Sobo would have compressed those spaces and just got them in a little bit tighter, because we saw in the first half especially, McAllister and Gravenberch, they were far out wide. They were near the wing backs. Hakimi or Mensch or Kivret-Kylia, they were too far wide, and there was no one in the middle just sitting there. Hence why I said if we have 4 together collectively, they will compress that space, especially Jones and so, because they're good at the press. We didn't press them first half.
Who do you play Curtis instead of?
I would have dropped. I didn't think Jota was needed.
Okay.
Jota offered us nothing. Luis Diaz, I thought, had a dreadful game, but Jota was just not far behind. Salah, we give him, you know, all jokes aside. I know I tweeted yesterday, he had an off day. That's fine. You know, Nuno Mendes is a really good defender, but Salah just had an off day. He's allowed. He's got plenty of credit. But Jota and Diaz, they didn't offer anything. Even when we had a kind of chance to go man for man against their lot, when we could have turned it over and had a 3-on-3 against their centre backs, we didn't. And I think we've got to give respect to Enrique as well. And it's fine to pay respect to this Enrique team. He set out a plan. You know, they had a lot of possession. It's not old school football. It's very much of what he has been taught coming through out of Spain. You know, play a false 9, all about possession based, but they couldn't make it count. They had chances, and it could have been too easy. Could have been 2-0, 3-0 in the first half, easy. Yeah. A whisker of what was it? His hamstring that was offside, Kivret-Kylia's?
You know, heel.
Another day, Dembele gets that past underneath Alisson. They had their chances. Second half, pot shots at best, but they were good shots outside the box. The first half, they dictated their play. Asim. Our front three couldn't get going. The midfield couldn't get going. Our centre back Robbo was getting skinned alive, but Dembele does that. Dembele does that to the best of defenders. So I'm not worried about that, you know. But they were just cohesively so much better than us, and they were in tune. But look, we were resolute. We defended our Alisson was just brilliant. But that first half, particular, I just thought we were losing our shape, and it was very hard to make the adjustments according to what PSG were doing.
Gino, what I want to touch on Jota, but before then, what did you make of Arne Slot's? I only caught one of the post-match interviews, and he said there was a few things that we changed. But do you think that Liverpool will always, or any big side, will show respect to another elite team, and PSG, especially on their own turf, will give? And I said this yesterday, that they'll do this to any team, whether it's City, whether it's Real Madrid, whether it's Liverpool, and even Arsenal fans who've been spouting off rubbish that we won this team. I think this PSG team yesterday that played Liverpool on their turf is a different team that played Arsenal. They were without, I think Dembele came on at half time, or he didn't even play. Kvaratskhelia wasn't even signed by then. So there's 2/3 of their front line not even there. But do you think Liverpool showed too much respect to PSG, or was it that just a really good team just out-footballed us in the first half?
They out-footballed us, Asim. Maybe Slot was slightly conservative. He mentioned that in his pre-match interview, that they're an unbelievable side. They keep the ball really, really well. In terms of the rotations, they're fantastic. We saw that especially in the first half. I'm not being funny here, Asim. I found that first half performance reminded me of a B-Tech version of Barcelona, the way they played with them three midfielders and their rotations in their front rotations in the front three. They just lacked that killer instinct in front of goal, what Messi would give the prime Barcelona or a David Villa. And you saw what they were about, and we just couldn't live with their front three. They're interchanging. We couldn't live with their midfield. We couldn't even string three passes together because they were on us like a rash. They didn't give us any sport, any time. And so many people have mentioned that Luis Enrique has made this. He's got rid of the prima donnas, Avi mentioned, and this side works its socks off. And we saw that, and they suffocated us, and we just couldn't get out. All we were doing time and time again was looking for that ball, which you mentioned previously about Van Dijk's ball to Salah. It just got so repetitive. We were doing the same thing over and over again, and we were and fair play to Mendes. I've always rated Mendes. He had an unbelievable game, and he showed why PSG paid all that money for it to retain him, because the top clubs in Europe were after him. I think his contract was up in the summer as well, or in a year's time. And you got to give the opposition credit that they were the better side. Yes, we might have shown a bit of respect, but that doesn't mean you completely stop playing football. They didn't allow us to play football because they were so up for this game, because they were arguably one of the best sides in Europe over the last 2 months. Yes, and we showed them a bit of respect. But hats off to Enrique, hats off to PSG. The way they played, they didn't, because I was expecting a tough game. But I did not expect football.
Yeah.
The football that they played was scintillating at times. We were really, really lucky that they didn't score, because it could have been 2 or 3 in the first half. But coming on Jota, Asim, look, and me and you were when we had them conversations. Question to you, look, I said to you, crying out, we need pace. Our front three don't have pace. We can't get in behind. There has to be somebody that comes in that is good enough to run in behind. You were like, okay, Jota will drop slightly deeper. It'll give us that extra man in midfield. Hindsight's a great thing, but when I look at it now, we needed somebody that was going to scare them, because as soon as Darwin Núñez came on, you saw the opposition drop back 10 yards. And, it gave us a bit more of an out ball where Darwin, that's where the sort of goal came from. But what was your thoughts on, in terms of Slot? Should he have gone with a more pacey forward? And look, I'll be honest, in terms of our forwards, they were all shite. Not one of them, gave me anything.
Just coming in, just in between that line, what you're saying about Jota and Núñez, and why I wouldn't have started Núñez from the off. PSG were desperate for a goal. You could see it in their body language as well. They knew they needed a goal. They didn't want to get away. They didn't want to walk out from the Parc des Princes with a 0-0, because they know the hostile atmosphere that awaits them at Anfield. They needed a goal minimum, Asim. So I think they pushed bodies forward, and we saw that. Nuno Mendes was nowhere to be seen when Harvey Elliott scores that goal. Hence why I thought the substitutions yesterday absolutely spot on, Gene, for me. Jota got his chance, didn't do anything. But yeah, just wanted
All
to
of them. All of them.
But I let Asim think. And this is only that. Just another thing, Asim, before you go. They're probably one of the only teams that have about 8-9 technicians in their starting 11. And that word, I know it's a fancy word, but they're all comfortable on the ball. They're all press resistant. From Hakimi, who's been played at right back, left back for Dortmund, who's played as a midfielder for Madrid, and put up incredible numbers, to the three that were sitting in the middle, to the forward line from Cavra, Dembele, Barcola. They all got technicians. Then you got Marquinhos as well, who's experienced. I thought Pacho played really well as well. Up until Nunes and Marquinhos, until Nunes came on. But they've all got players that are comfortable with the ball, and when you've got that, you're guaranteed to be a good team.
Yeah, 100%. Just going on what Gina was saying about Slot's idea, I think Liverpool set up slightly different, but not a lot different. Like I said, you're going to pay a bit of respect to the team that you're facing. And I think especially with the likes of Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, and what you guys have just touched on, and I tweeted it, I think after 20 minutes, Liverpool can't cope with PSG's rotations because not just up top, they're all over the pitch. And I've been talking about this Toni Kroos role that McAllister has been playing recently because of the four midfielders, whether it's Curtis coming inside, Diaz playing the false nine role, and Curtis coming inside, Szoboszlai on the other side. We needed width. And I don't think he wanted to play that is because of Dembele and their transition threat. But so we set up in the standard 4-2-4 press, but Szoboszlai slightly deeper. How many times did you see Szoboszlai like jump on the press? We weren't really aggressive on the centre backs. Maybe because he didn't want to vacate central space, because the amount of players, whether it's Kvaratskhelia, whether it's Dembele, whether it's Barcola on the other side, they have got so many players that can come inside and play in the half spaces and turn your defense. And that's what Liverpool didn't want, because they've got pace to burn. They arguably got more pace in their front line than us. So, and it's not just in midfield, up top, Avi. It's Vitinha playing that Toni Kroos role. If Liverpool did want to get a bit aggressive, he'd come and receive off the back four, and Mendes would go higher. They had that structure of three centre-backs. Generally, Mendes, Pacho, and Marquinhos would go out wide, and then Vitinha would sit with someone, Ruiz, and what do you call him? Is it Gomez?
João Neves.
Neves, sorry. And the fluidity, Liverpool could not cope. And we've seen how other teams, even Man United, tried to create overloads on the side. And if you're compact, and this is what a Slot wanted to do, just to sort of nullify their central progression, they've got technicians, they've got footballers, they can manipulate the ball, small space combination players with Ruiz and with Vitinha. And most importantly, whether it's Ruiz from the right-hand side, hitting a switch, that quick diag to Barcola, or if it's Vitinha out to Kvaratskhelia or Dembele on the other side, they've got wingers who have got unbelievable 1v1 quality. So Liverpool can cope, but I talked about it yesterday that Liverpool adjusted in the second half and just put Diaz and Curtis Jones, who came in later, just 10-15 yards deeper. And we've seen it, many top. Arteta does it, Guardiola did it. We did it even with Cody Gakpo against Crystal Palace this season, where I think we won, was it 2-1 or 1-0? I can't remember the scoreline away to Palace this year, where Jaros came on. But Liverpool showed that they can adapt. And you have to show, respect to the game state. And I thought Liverpool controlled and nullified PSG's wide threat a lot better. And they were just limited, in my opinion, to pop shots in the second half.
The initial setup, the Asim, and you'll probably be best to answer, we gave up way too much possession in the first half. That wasn't the game plan. That's not the initial game plan.
The reason why
went into a low block, he didn't initially go with a low block. That wasn't the game plan at all.
Avi, you have to give credit to the team. They pinned us back because they've got so many different ways. If you set up just in a compact shape, but you're passive in your press, good teams will, pick you off. And we did the same with many good teams. I think Leverkusen had Alonso at Anfield had a bit of a hybrid system. He went man to man, but he did zonal in the middle areas as well. But when you've got the likes of Ryan Gravenberch receiving on the half turn, when you've got Trent receiving outside the block, there is too much creativity in those areas. And then Liverpool in the last line just hurt teams, especially when you've got someone like Mohamed Salah. But he adjusted. But you have to give credit to Luis Enrique. That is one of the best sides, PSG sides. Both of you have touched on it, that it's a well-drilled, it's a very together United side and very well coached. And they've got proper principles with good technicians. But I think Liverpool didn't put enough physicality on them. And you guys have just touched on it, the spacing behind for Nunes to run. Just to put, I think Aki mentioned it, that it was the first duel after 80-odd minutes or nearly 90 minutes that Marquinhos lost. And I think this will be different. And Unks was really worried last night that they're going to catch us on the break. But I think it will be a different game. But Liverpool have to be brave, even though they 1-0, and it's very easy psychologically to protect the lead. But I don't think Liverpool will play like that at Anfield. The crowd will be up. It'll be under the lights at Anfield. And the likes of Trent will be higher. There was a few moments, and it was only 1 or 2 moments when you're faced, and you said Liverpool didn't get possession. You have to give credit to their man-to-man press. We have to deal with that in different ways. So when we're faced with the man-to-man press, with the likes of Atlanta and Leeds, we've always picked them off because they don't have the 1v1 quality or individual quality like PSG do. But we had to be brave. I think it took about 60, 70 minutes for Trent to make that run from right back, where he drives into a third man run into midfield. And we've got creative options where he just squares it or has the run on goal by driving through midfield. But we didn't want to vacate those areas because they've got so much quality on the break. But I think we have to pin them back. They will have that threat. They will always have that threat. But I think it's a lot easier coping with that threat where you isolate Dembele and we just smother him with 2-3 players and we go again and sustain attacks. I can see that. We did it to Real Madrid. We did it to Manchester City at Anfield. I think we can do it. And one thing about these technicians, Avi, is Ruiz and Vitinha, Neves to a lesser extent. The likes of them, I think if you put it on them physically, you can get results, because I don't think Fabian Ruiz and Vitinha like going the other way. And up top, 15 yards further on, when you've got the likes of Darwin Núñez running in behind, you can stretch the play and create space for your other killers like Salah. So I think it'll be a different game. I think we'll pick them off. But obviously, they're always a threat because they've got so many players.
Are we in danger of making the second leg a gun-ho game, Asim, back and forth? Because we've seen the quality that they possess, and they can hurt us on the counter as well. I don't think, and it's a danger for me. I fear it's going to be a bit of a back and forth, and whoever gets the first goal, it will be crucial, because you don't want to be the team that's chasing goal. PSG will have to be chasing from the off. But I think they will bide their time. I think Luis Enrique will not say chase that goal.
They're not going to chase. They're not going to chase, Avi. That first 15 minutes, you can't turn up to Anfield on a European night and say that, you know what, especially when you're 1-0 down, that you're going to go gun-ho all out against Liverpool. It just doesn't work. No, you're playing into our... Avi, I'll be honest with you, we have to go for them. We have to be, Asim mentioned the word brave, Avi. That's what we have to be. The first 20 minutes, we are the whole time. We have to turn it on. Yeah. We have to put it on them. Like Asim, we have to go for the first 20 minutes, because we score in that first 20 minutes. Chutti, game's done then. Pulija, they ain't coming back after that, because we'll just sit back and hit him on transitions. It's very important. But you know what? One thing I will say, Asim, look, we were really, really bad. Yeah. But there was moments in this game, Avi, where I felt as though 3 or 4 times they pinned us, they had all of that. We had them on the break, whereas our passing, that one final ball, that little ball through which left, was absolutely dreadful. It was so bad. Maybe the players actually felt a lot of pressure at that time, where they felt as though, you know what, they couldn't do it, and they were panicking in that moment, because we did have some decent openings. It's just that last ball or that intricate ball, it just wasn't there, and we kept losing the ball, because we would have got open. I think Scott mentioned it as well. We did have openings. He was peed off to the fact that we didn't make anything. We didn't take anything from them, and that gave PSG, even more confidence to come at us, because we weren't doing anything.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's the thing that peed me off. And our passing yesterday from Szoboszlai, Jota, in the area, in that sort of area, was dreadful in the first half, man.
This is why I think second leg, and I gave Desiree Doué a bit of a mention. So I thought he would start. I think these why I think he will start the second leg.
Where do you see him starting?
in the false nine.
Who starts? Who starts?
Barcola, Dembele, and then Due in the middle. Because I think
Kravitz will be
Due
on bench.
and Cava on the bench, because Due will provide that defensive transition. He'll bring that extra body in. He will nip back a bit like a Bobby. He will bring back and flood those bodies when we're on the offense. Offense, I think he will provide a little bit of cover. I can't see him going with three of the ones that started yesterday again on Tuesday night. I think he'll go with Due a little bit.
But do you think it'll be too easy for the likes of Van Dijk? I can see where you're saying, but they want to settle the crowd, they want to pop their, start get their football going, and work the attacks. But do you think they'll lack the box threat that Liverpool lacked, without Nunes?
He won't give you the physicality, but he can get in behind. And then obviously you see him interchanging yesterday on the left hand side with Barcola. And who was Barcola subbed for? He was subbed for someone. Ramos. Gonzalo Ramos came on as well, didn't he? I don't think he'll start with Ramos. He's a bench option, but I think he'll go with those three. He's favoured those three for most of the season. And I know coming against a Van Dijk and Konate is different kettle of fish. They're not going to play long balls, but on the feet, on the deck, and the intricate play that they're involved in, I think they can cause issues.
There is no chance, Avi. I can, with the performance, KK put up yesterday. He will start, man. How can you leave, especially when your team needs a goal? You have to go with him, because he end of the day, he's got that threat where he's good enough on his own to get a goal. And we saw that yesterday. He will start. The front three will start. But Asim, on Barcola, there's a lot of noise about how good he is, all that type of stuff, and he's been playing unbelievably well. I'll be honest, I thought Trent did a fantastic job on him, and hence why he had to come off. What your thoughts on Barcola and Trent?
Look, I thought Barcola was lively. Especially first 20-30 minutes. I think he came inside Trent, but there was a few people, big accounts as well, I may say. So they're just too obsessed with stats. They'll go on Sofa Score, they'll go on Live Score, and they'll see Trent has got dribbled past 4 times and this and that. But there's no context to it. Sometimes you have to pass your winger on inside to your midfielders, and they look after it because you've got the overlapping left back, and that's your responsibility now. But the stat man will class that as you've been dribbled past. I think I can remember when he came inside, and it was a situation, to be fair to Barcola, but I think especially second half, I think Trent's awareness, especially defensively, is underrated. And where is what's his name? The guy who goes for me all the time. What's his name? Jay, where is Jay and Jay's agenda against Trent? I hope he's watching later on, because he's not in the live feed. Hope he's well anyway. Because I think the only thing that puts Trent off is defending. It's his willingness to defend. I don't think it's the actual defensive ability. Or Slot to a large extent has given him a kick up the arse this season, and we've seen Trent better. I don't think, Avi, obviously, I'm not having a go at him, earlier on when he was having a stinker against United. You will have those stinkers against, for someone like Trent, because when someone's such a zonal influence, you will catch him on a bad day where every single thing that comes off his foot goes into Rose Ed or, into touch. So he will have those games. But generally speaking, when he's been faced with, decent, fullbacks, he's shown and he's stayed in those spaces where he needs to take responsibility for. I thought his back post defending was very, very good, where he ushered the ball out into touch sometimes. And his positioning, that's the most important thing. His positioning was very, very good, because he didn't have a lot of responsibility going forward, bar 1 or 2 occasions in the second half, Avi. But I think his performance was really, really good. It's very encouraging. And I just hope whether he leaves or stays, he just stays in a good headspace and he can keep on performing, because when he's on the pitch, I think that ball from Trent in the second half, when you've second leg, would be a lot more dangerous. At times we were trying that little Salah comes wide, it goes into midfield, and then Trent goes over the top to the striker. I think because we were so deep, it was Jota's had to, go into space around about 30-40 yards, and Liverpool as a team was just too deep and couldn't get out. But I think Trent was really assured. And I won't say he was unbelievable, but I thought against a Barcola who's been talked about, there were some accounts putting tweets about Barcola ripping general other people before the game as well. I thought that was the lack of respect. But yeah, not mentioning any names. But I think we just have to show a bit of respect to our own players sometimes.
To be fair, I thought he was lively first half. I thought that was a.
But I mean, my last point, Barcola going off was a victory for Trent after 60 minutes. Don't you think?
100% it was.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't. I'll be honest with you. I was expecting a lot more from Barcola. You saw the performances of the other two, and then you look at Barcola's performance. Yes, all he did was come inside and start running. Yeah, in that space, and he had ample opportunity to go at Trent 1-on-1 and actually go inside and actually really go and beat him. What did he really do? He came inside a few times. He didn't really do much for me, and hence why he was taken off, because he didn't really impact the game as he should have done, especially when you compare him with the other two. But look, he's still a young player. He's still got a lot to learn. He's still got a lot of quality, and he probably will. He'll definitely. All the front three. I think will start at Anfield. But I know you were a big fan of him, Barcola, Ravi.
I was a big fan of him at Lyon. He's a fantastic footballer. And look,
he's a good player.
He couldn't get the afterburners on yesterday. I think first half he was fine. I think it was a controversial decision, which we can talk about. I think it was a bit of a hard shove. It was a hard shove. If that was given, I wouldn't have argued with it either.
Yeah, I can.
It's one of those. If it was given, I was like,
I don't think it was a penalty, but I've seen him.
No, it was. I think they determined it was outside the box.
Was it outside the box?
Yeah. If they had given
it, red card,
I wouldn't have argued it too much. It was a hard shove. And I think that was the only thing. He couldn't get going. It was a very stop-start from Barcola, but Gene, I think this player, he's destined for big things. He's a good player. And the second half they'll come. It's half time for them. I think he'll know that. Look, that short sort of space at Anfield, if they get in behind, I think he can cause damage. He's definitely a good player. But yeah, yesterday, look, Trent did relatively well. I don't think he was amazing.
No.
One of these days, all these, he gets dribbled past, but there's no substance from Doku or Bradley Barcola. But you don't want him to keep getting dribbled past, because that 1, 2, 3 chances that will convert into an assist, then you lot will start pointing the finger at Trent. But relatively, he was close to Barcola a lot. Even Duel, he was fine. Trent was fine. I wouldn't say he was brilliant. But it was
Gene, do you think it was Bob says it was offside, the Barcola chance? I don't think it was offside though. I think there was a fake image going around.
Initially, I saw a little picture behind that.
Yeah, there was a picture going around, Asim, where he looked slightly offside, but that's in terms of the actual foul, 100% it was a foul.
You think it was a foul?
I thought it was a foul. It was a shove, man. And plus, Asim was behind him. If he was a bit side on, it was a bit side on.
Customary.
We know what he did put. Yeah. You know that is.
I don't think it was a foul, Gene. I don't think it was a foul. Bias aside.
Come on, man. He did it from behind.
Asim, if that was Salah in behind Marquinhos, you would have said.
I'd be going crazy.
Asim, he was behind him, yeah.
But the only reason why, Gene, is the ball isn't in control and Barcola is slowing down because he wants to get a shot off and take it into his path. And then any sort of contact comes, I can accept the contact is probably too much, but that's Ibu. It's about referees, not about knowing your players as well.
No, but
Ibu, the thing is, look, Ibu always gets away with it though.
He let his elbow.
He did. Ibu. The thing is, Asim's right. Because Ibu always does that and always gets away with it, it's seen as like a normal sort of tackle because he does it so often. But yesterday, Asim, I felt he was slightly behind him and it was a bit of a shove, even though he says, Ibu come out and said he didn't put any strength in it. And he probably didn't because that's how strong he is. But you know what? Look, it was a foul. We got away with it. It happens. We got a bit of luck. We've had plenty of unlucky, plenty of times in the past. Look, end of the day, I've got no sympathy for anybody. If there's a side that had issues in the past with referees, all that type of stuff, it's us. Yeah, we've got a bit of luck. Who hasn't? Real Madrid have had plenty of luck in the past when it concerns winning games when they shouldn't have won, refereeing decisions. These things happen, and sometimes you have to take the rough with the smooth. Arsenal are crying this year because of refereeing decision. I know Alamin's in the shot. Arsenal are crying, sendings off, fouls, referees. They've got every excuse under the sun, about them not winning the league. So you know what? Same thing happened to us last season. You take the rough with the smooth, mate. Move on. Just make sure you win the title. That's it.
Asim, also you need to remember, the magnitude of this game. It was the game of the round, you would say. It was an early collision as well. Or the Barcola and Kanate incident. If you're going to give that, then it would have set a dangerous, not a dangerous precedent, but it sets a precedent for the rest of the game and the second leg. That if you're going to give that, then you've got to be consistent. So I think VAR, they were checking over it. I think they did an extensive check as well. It was more than a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever. They said, look, in the magnitude of this game, you shouldn't give it. Let a few things slide. And look, it was a great game as well, football. But look, Luis Campos has got every right to be complaining. And Van Dijk did I like what Van Dijk said. It's not League One, bro. It's not League One. So, yeah, nice little tip for tat there.
I want to ask you a question. I know we talked about Liverpool showing respect, had to roll their sleeves up. It was one of those typical old school European performances. But did this show Liverpool's deficiencies in up top and what we're going to address in the summer? Did this game bring all that out, Gene, for you?
Yes, if I'm honest with you, Asim, we've been harping on really about at the start of the season that we've got so many strikers. Quite a few of them were on form, and we had Diaz, Gakpo, Salah all on form at one point. We looked like a really, really good side. Jota was out then. So when you look at it on paper, Asim, we're a very, very good side. We've got unbelievable forwards, but you look now and you think, you know what? There's players in this team, especially in our forward line, that simply don't cut it. And you look at Jota availability, even Jota's performances this season haven't been great. His numbers haven't been great.
In 26 European Cup games.
Has Jota become like an Anfield player?
Asim, you can't play for Liverpool. You can't play for Liverpool Football Club if you're just an Anfield player, Asim. Set it up. And even if he is, his numbers
like
this
what
season
Luis Garcia was, wasn't it?
It doesn't make sense. I know he got that goal against was it Forest or something? Forest. He got that goal, and he got one more Ipswich, and there's another one that I'm sure there was another one, Fulham, when we do 2-2 at home, that goal, but it's simply not enough. And then there's another one in terms of Darwin. Yes, yesterday we saw, he had a good performance when he came on, but it just goes to show that there's definitely, hopefully we're praying that there will be movement in that position. And Ornstein come out and said there are signs that Liverpool are interested in Alexander Isak. Obviously, you're talking crazy money, but it's good to see that he's come out with that. We do want him, yeah. And now we can smile as much as we want, like he knew about this 3 years ago. He'll tell you now. I tweeted this 3 months ago. Look, Chine, I said this 3 months ago. Look at it, yeah. Anyway,
Grizz was on the show. My last words on that show.
I'm joking with you, man.
My last words were.
Why do you have to? I mess about with you, Javier, and you fall for it every time.
Asim, this guy's gonna keep waffling on. I've said for ages. Shuti, Diaz, Nunes, Chiesa, Jota, Shuti. You not keep playing.
The great reset. The great reset.
Salah as well. Salah as well, innit? You said he's gone.
I don't want Salah to go, but at the moment it looks as if he is going. The proof in the pudding, right? He hasn't signed a contract. All I'm saying is prepare for big things this summer. That's what I'm saying. I've said it all season. The great reset is upon us. The great reset is upon us.
The great reset is being predicted by the great ITK. Let's see what happens.
I
think Jota is chances. He's not.
Are you concerned every time Jota what's he called? Jota has been described, or not Jota, the Arnie Slot, and is his own word that he wants a facilitator, and he's more of a facilitator than what's he called? Darwin Núñez. I'm forgetting our strikers. Treble winning reset. So he's more of a facilitator than Darwin Núñez, but Darwin Núñez is more of a space invader and he plays on the shoulders more, and he's got the physicality. But I saw it yesterday where every time he ran him behind or tried to run him behind, Avi, it was too much distance to cover for him. And the moment he put his foot down, honestly, I was just waiting for him to pull up. I'm just waiting for Jota just for pop. And honestly, I hope it doesn't happen. But the more he does that sort of thing, I'm just waiting for him to pull up, honestly. But I just think when we've got more control at Anfield, then his little burst of actions need just a lot more outside the box, and that's where he's really dangerous, going into the box or starting, as a stationary 9, and he's got the box threat. But You look, I won't be surprised. I know we've just sort of ridiculed you about this great reset. I think if Liverpool, I've always said Liverpool's transfer activity in how crazy is going to be. If it's going to be a big reset, it depends on those 3 contracts in terms of Trent and thinking, because Liverpool, the way they are, the sustainable model, we discussed it a million times, Avi, how it's going to be and how much budget we have into our transfer kitty depends on those 3 big contracts. I don't see, I said it, I think Liverpool are in for and they'll try for Isaac. But I don't see Liverpool paying 120, 130 million pound for Alexander Isaac. I hope they do, but I just can't see it. I'm afraid. They'll probably look at that number. They'll spend that money, but they'll get 3 players for it.
No,
They'll
that's
get 3
fair
players.
enough. And look, Ornstein saying that there is interest. There's always going to be interest of a player of that quality. He's a player that's been liked by every club, whether he was at Sociedad or Dortmund. So the interest will always be there with Alexander Isaac. It's all about substance and whether it's concrete interest. And we'll find out further down the line. Jota, I've always said it, Asim, for the last 3-4 years, he's a player that plays in the peripheral, right? He's a snapshot goal scorer. He gets that chance, scores in and around that 6-yard box. That role he played yesterday, it was dreadful. It was unfair on him to expect him to do the running or to hold up the ball or to bring others into play. That's not Jota. Jota is a busy bee inside that opposition box. That's all he has.
But that doesn't mean, Avi, that he can't flipping hold up a ball and make a 6-yard pass. Yeah, he couldn't even do that.
Gene, I agree.
He was dreadful in every sense, Avi. Regardless, yes, we know what his primary goal role is.
The injuries and the lack of rhythm, game time, it's waning now on him. 1 goal in 26 Champions League games, that's not good enough for a player of his quality. So, look, he'll be one of those that, I think the club will explore of selling in the summer if a good, sizable fee comes in. Diaz wasn't great yesterday. Diaz, you thought Wolves against Newcastle, you thought, okay, Diaz, he's going to have a great little run now towards the end of the season where he starts popping up again and starts, threatening the final third and popping in with a few assists and goals. He was nowhere to be seen yesterday.
But what I would say, Avi, in defense of our attackers, is because we didn't have hardly any settled play because of PSG's attacking aggressive press. Liverpool, I tweeted that Van Dijk, I saw bits of the Lille game on the weekend, which PSG won comfortably, and I saw the way they press, and I tweeted that Van Dijk pass is going to be key. But I didn't think Van Dijk would be taking goal kicks. Some would say that there's a concern about Alisson's hamstrings.
He did that against Newcastle too, though.
Yeah, because Newcastle have gone to man as well in settled shape. I think Eddie Howe recently has gone to like a 5-4-1. But you have to give credit, and we had to be brave, and we just didn't have those third man runs, and we just kept on going long and long and long. We hit it to Diaz, we hit it to Salah. Where Salah against Newcastle, he was a bit of a drogba, even though Luis de Hall did have a decent game against him. But Salah will have always 3-4 moments where he just, plucks it out of thin hair, brings a underlapping right back into play, and off we go. But we just didn't have the positions on the pitch to really hurt PSG. So I think we are going to have settled play, and we're going to be higher up the pitch as well at Anfield, and that's why I think it's going to be a different type of game. But let's go. It's been about 43 minutes, and we haven't talked about the best player on the pitch so far. And good job. He's been touted to be going or linked to it away from Liverpool, Avi. I hope he's not part of your great reset, because if Mahmoud Shawili is going to come in and replace this guy, or there were calls about Kelleher, bless him, to replace this, there is no one in the world that can replace this guy. Unless you spend 100 million on someone stupid. Alisson, I'd give him a lifetime contract at Liverpool, but tell me, is he part of your great reset in the summer?
Dependable.
Actually, he was. Gene, he told us that Alisson's off in the summer.
Listen, he had half the team. He had 9 gone. Yeah.
If you let me finish. Before we start,
no, admit you had him gone.
I said there's real possibility Alisson would be,
Basket.
Here we
This
are.
guy's such, oh,
The
yeah,
terminology is there.
he goes chutti. Yeah, now he's going real possibility. Proper ITK.
I
This
said
man.
there's real
Proper
possibility
ITK.
that Alisson will be going.
Avi,
I
this is
think
a
he's only-
compliment. Avi, this is a
I think the
compliment.
issue with Alex, I think the issue with Alisson is
Hmm.
after this summer he only has a year to run. So it's a decision time too. A year or 2 years
I
to
think he
run.
got 2027.
Yeah.
So it's 2 years to run.
He's got
So it's
two.
one of those decisions that you've got to make. He's 32 years old as well. Will be 33 in October. But just on the performance yesterday, transfer talk can wait. We can do that tomorrow, me and you, Julian, all day long. No problem. We're all here for it. Alisson, one of the best goalkeeping performances. Big shout out to Doc Iver, who's in the same group as me and Kieran. It reminded him of Schmeichel against Newcastle '96 when Canada scored the volley, and save upon save. Schmeichel was everywhere, and he was a great in his own right. But Alisson yesterday, Asim, brilliant. It wasn't so much the saves; it was so much the parries that were just getting out of trouble. It wasn't a parry to a PSG player or back into the box to a Liverpool player where he had the reaction time was very little. He would be parrying it outside the opposition of his own opposition box
On 2-3 occasions.
And he was talking to CBS with Schmeichel. It was a great show, by the way. Carragher, Speed was on there as well. Thierry Henry, Mika. But Schmeichel and Alisson says, I try to train my palms to be like when I punch the ball out, it's going 30, 40 yards out. It's not going anywhere back to the sort of circulation of where the players are. It goes out, and it was a parries more for me that absolutely brilliant, world class. He's easily been the best top 3 goalkeepers in the last 10, 15 years of football. Absolutely brilliant.
I'm glad you mentioned that palm away because I think there's one sort of a half shot / cross from Dembele with his left foot in the second half, which he parried away, and it didn't only happen once. It went to our player. I think Alisson's the only keeper that parries shots away, but it's classed. The stat guys will have a completed pass. So Alisson had a few completed passes with his parries away. But Gene, talk to me about this lad. He's a very humble guy. But a lot of the stuff that he just sort of smothers is his positioning. And every time you see world-class keepers, past and present, talk about Alisson, they talk about his positioning because he makes decent shots look very, very easy because of his positioning. But yesterday he had to stretch for a few, and boy, he kept us in the game.
What a monumental performance, Asim. He was arguably it was probably one of the greatest goalkeeping performances I've seen watching football because he made every single type of save. PSG must have been thinking, what the hell do we have to do? But you're talking about the best goalkeeper in the world. You're talking about a guy that's been at the top of his game for 6-7 years. Yes, there might have been a slight inclinations that he might be leaving at the start of the season. Liverpool were signing Mamadashvili, all that type of stuff. And you know what? It might have hampered him a little bit. Yes, he does get injured. But when this guy plays and he's on form, there isn't a goalkeeper in world football better than him. I've never seen a guy one-on-one. Schmeichel and these guys, and they were great. I'm not going to knock how great these players was. The amount of times this guy saves one-on-ones for this football club over the years is just been... He's just a different level, and he's arguably the best goalkeeper in the history of the Premier League for me, of how good he's been. And of course, people will say Schmeichel, Petr Cech, them names will come in. But to do it year upon year, every single year, and yesterday, when you needed him, this is the difference between great. This is greatness. When you need your top players to turn up, when everybody else out there was struggling, he stood tall and he stood strong, and he showed why he is still the best goalkeeper in the world. And look, I'm buzzing for him. And even the I think it was the game before that when he won and he came out and he said he mentioned something about there's nothing better than winning at Anfield, and about the supporters as well. He might want to stay. I had a feeling that he might want to leave previously, but I think now he wants to stay.
And he's 32, still very young in terms of goalkeeping age. Asim. And look, he's had a few of these great performances. People will mention the Napoli game in 2019, but people forget how good he was in that Barcelona game. In the away leg, in the home leg, sorry, the second leg. He was brilliant. in that performance as well at Anfield. He's given us monumental moments, like Gene says.
Mm.
He's replied upon. This ain't no he's the best keeper. Like I said, in the last 10 years, find me someone better. People can talk about Courtois, Neuer, Petr Cech, but Alisson, for me, all round, he's brilliant. His distribution might not be the greatest, but boy, his positioning, his this sense of awareness of where he is, with his with the goal behind him, he's just fantastic. And look, some of those chances on another day, Dembele past another goalkeeper, that's a goal. Another day, some of those shots that they were taking, Alisson doesn't position himself as great as other goalkeepers don't position themselves as great as Alisson did yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. Look, there's been a few comments, Avi, and I don't want to hide away from talking about Salah when he's had a
speak on the king. Speak on the king.
We will speak, and I mentioned it yesterday, but I'm not going to mention any names. But when Salah has had a below par performance, the haters come out, and put your hand up for that one. How are the Salah fan boys doing?
Can I address this?
With all due respect, Avi, let me go for this one. How are Liverpool fans, if a goal ratio is a Liverpool fan, how are Liverpool fans questioning the king after one bad performance? To which I say, and I said it earlier on, and then defended Diaz and Jota to an extent as well, that they just didn't have the supply. Watch the game again. The amount of time Salah did come and play into midfield, but Liverpool just didn't have enough body.
I thought he was tracking back very last night, to be honest.
You know what?
Another this, every other week you make excuses for Salah's performances. If you saw our show 2 weeks ago after the Newcastle game, or I think it was after the Wolves game, I mentioned that Salah at the moment, and we only need Salah for this. He's become a moments player, and that's fine. At his age, it's fine, because those moments are either assisting or he's scoring a goal, or he's producing magic on the pitch, which results into an assist. Results into a goal. That's all we need Salah for right now. He doesn't need to give me 90-minute performances. He just needs to have those moments. And believe you me, he'll have those moments on Tuesday night. People talking about Mendes, and they put this stat something. Liverpool fans as well. They put this stat thing up saying that Mendes had him in his pocket. This and that. Let's wait till Tuesday. Speak after the second leg, because usually what happens, Salah makes people eat their words. So let's just be a little bit humble. Yeah, and on Tuesday, I promise you, Salah will be playing, and there will be moments where he will produce magic, and he will either assist or he'll score a goal, because that's what Salah does.
With all due respect, people questioning Salah after last night, they don't deserve Mohamed. They literally don't.
Oh yeah, Asim. No Liverpool. One second. No Liverpool player. No Liverpool fan was criticizing
Did you see Twitter today?
Which Liverpool? I'll be honest, I've not really been on.
I've not seen hate. Obviously,
Liverpool fans are having a go at him.
Yeah.
Yes, he had a shit game. We all know he had a shit game. That's no running away from that. But to criticize him, he must be happy.
Funny enough, Ramadan on CBS was complimenting him on his work rate yesterday.
Yeah, you have to put a shift in, man.
You put a shift in. Listen,
I want to ask you about a player, Avi, Ryan Gravenberch.
By the way, boys, I have to go, Asim. Avi, I've got to
you
go.
Fix your Dubai chocolate. See you later. See you tomorrow. Listen, don't be late tomorrow, you boss. Don't be late tomorrow.
Astaghfirullah, Ramadan, don't swear, man.
No, I can. You can't. No.
Avi, we're nearly wrapping up as well. Ryan Gravenberch, Avi, again, I don't want to go too early, but I want to say this comment. I feel if Ryan Gravenberch wants to be an elite six long term, I think he needs to improve his passing. Do you agree?
Yeah, there was a noticeable pass in the second half.
Yeah.
Touched play to Salah and got it horribly wrong. And he's a good passer of the ball. He's working in Ajax. We didn't see much by. He's a good. I think there is a bit of. I think ALS said that. I think there's a bit of tiredness in him. There is a lot of mileage in Grab, considering that. And people will say, "Oh yeah, but he's young. He should be, running. He should have full energy." No, it doesn't work like that. He's had a few injuries from Bayern. He carried that over last season to Liverpool. In and out of the team last season. That injury against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, and this season he's playing flat out, week in, week out. So that's going to take its toll. He wasn't great yesterday. I didn't think any of the midfielders forward line were great as him. But look, we know that Gravenberch, again, he's probably got enough credit in the bank too.
Of course.
2-3 performances, the Newcastle one, the Everton ones come to mind. The Paris ones, all 3 away games where he has struggled. And that's fine. Sometimes we have to concede possession to Paris Saint-Germain. Sometimes we have to just admit it's an off day. But he's 22 years old, guys. So, there's plenty more to come from. I don't even think we're seeing the full fruition of Ryan Gravenberch, probably at 65%. Once slots work with him a year, another 2 years, 18 months, let's see where Ryan Gravenberch is. Asim, Endo. Wow. We need to give him an extension. I have my own separate thoughts on a personal level with people from Japan, and the Japanese people, of how calm they are, how composed they are, how they bring luck, how they believe in luck. But Endo, he comes in just as a shift. He's worked his way up. He's probably was 6th, 7th choice at times, maybe at the beginning of the season, but he's worked himself up. And Wata, as Slot likes to call him, has got his own nickname. And I think we will see a continuation beyond this season of his career. I think he'll be a Liverpool player next season.
How long did he sign for, Harvey?
I think he signed a 3 or 4 year contract.
Did he? Okay, so you think he'll be here? He's not part of the Great Reset.
I think players like that, Asim, they need to be kept. Yeah. If they're happy with 10, 15-minute cameos, closing the game out, he's a brilliant player. He's a perfect player. He won 3-4 challenges yesterday as soon as he came on.
I don't think Liverpool
7-8 minutes.
I don't think Liverpool have conceded a goal every time he comes on for a little cameo.
There you go.
So when you need a player to just get stuck in, and he knows his role, like you say, and he's one of the nicest guys. Always keeps his head down. No, he's not high maintenance, and he's a very, very likable guy. So whenever he does well, and I think amongst Liverpool fans all over the world, you want to see this guy do well because he didn't kick up a fuss. He had a lot of game time against Klopp, let's remember, but he just wasn't a fan. This is the reason why Ryan Gravenberch is playing number 6, because he just didn't fancy Endo. He's a good tackler, but he's not a guy who's going to receive the ball on the half turn. But when there's a job to do in the last 10, 15 minutes, and slowly but surely, I think he's coming on a bit earlier as well, Avi. He's getting a few more minutes because, like you say, he's not always the 3rd, 4th sub now. So sometimes
I think he's trusted now as well.
Yes.
I think he's being trusted. I think when a new manager comes in, they already have made their mind up of who can cut it and who can adapt to the system and who can't. A little bit what Ruben Amorim's trying to do at United. But Endo, I think he's worked himself so much and he's not complained. He just got on with it. I think that's won the respect of Arnie. I want to come to another individual, and I have to.
I was coming there. I was coming there.
I have to, Murphy. And look, it's not that I want the kid to fail. Are you going with
an apology too early though?
No, he's a player that I've said that he's not Liverpool material. He's not good enough to play for Liverpool. I've been harsh in some of the terminology that I've used with Harvey Elliott. After seeing the 3rd and 4th episode of the Klopp documentary and his dad and the influence that his dad has on him, and just how much that player just wants to play for Liverpool Football Club. I want to get a little bit emotional here. He's living our dream, Asim. He's living our dream. He's doing what we would love to do. And any player that just is living out his fantasy and living out his dream, I take back everything I've said. Whether he's good enough or not good enough for this football club, and whatever happens in him to the future, if he stays at Liverpool, I will support him wholeheartedly. He had a mirror against Plymouth, the handball and everything we saw. But yesterday, to come on for Salah and just probably closing the game out here, where we were probably settling for a draw at this stage, comes on and scores a goal. He deserves that praise. He deserved to be the winner. He deserved the winner for Liverpool. He deserved his plaudits in Paris. I apologize for everything I've said. I hope it really works out for him at Liverpool. But Harvey Elliott deserves a mention. I just think he's a fantastic kid. I had never had that issue with him personally, just his footballing ability. But you know what? I hope he makes it at this football club. And I'm ready to eat humble pie. And I hope he does stay beyond the season.
I've got a slightly different opinion on him. I've always loved the player, the person, the upbringing, the mentality as well. I really want him to do well. I all agree with you, but my opinion has slightly changed. And a month ago I said, look, if he's happy, you just said it in regards to Endo, if he's happy to do a bit part role, I think I think Harvey Elliott wants to be more of a first team player at Liverpool than Endo, maybe because of the different ages as well, and the different ends of their careers. But with the Endo, I think he'll always have a little cameo in midfield if you want to manage your game. With Liverpool's refusal to buy centre backs, I think he'll have little centre back roles as well in cup competitions. Endo. But without Harvey Elliott and how Arnie Slot wants his number 10 to attack and press, I think if we get an offer for Harvey Elliott, that's where I agree with you. My opinion has changed. I want him to do well, but I think the way Arnie Slot wants his number 10, I think we will get another person in where to support Dominic Szoboszlai.
I agree, but
just to finish, and I had this little conversation with Kibria on BNR today, and I said if Liverpool have a look at someone like Mohamed Kudus, I can see that where he can do bits out wide, but more importantly, he can do bits in the number 10, and he can be that right-sided midfielder as well for Liverpool. I think, and then you've got two physical players, and that's what Arnie Slot likes. I just think his lack of physicality is going to make him surplus to requirements at Liverpool. That's my prediction.
Basically saying what I've said all along.
Yeah.
But
No.
But for me, what I'm changing my tune on is I'm not going to berate the player anymore. I don't want to say he's not good enough and let's talk in 2 years when I tweet a year and a half ago. I actually want to just put praise on the player because, Asim, you know, it's sometimes when you look at certain programs and the documentary, the Klopp one, it was a bit.
Have you seen it? I'm not watched it yet.
It's very rushed. The production. It's okay. I liked it. I liked the ending, whatnot. But the Harvey Elliott segment, and they've done a segment with Trent and Conor Bradley. But the Harvey Elliott segment, he just wants to play for Liverpool, Asim, at the moment.
Yeah.
He as many minutes as he can get. He loves this football club. I can't knock the kid. I really can't. So I'm just taking back what I've said previously on the lab. If he makes
I just can't say it, unfortunately, because, and Slot mentioned this. He goes, look at, he's not had. he commended his professionalism as well, but he said
it's a ruthless game. No, it is a ruthless game. There's so much your passion, your desire, your determination, your motivation, your childhood club. That's so much that can go for you. If you haven't got the physical attributes, that's a whole different story. But
because he doesn't class him as a winger for all the right reasons. He doesn't go past a player in wide areas. He doesn't have the physicality. Is he a Bernardo Silva type? If he's half as good as Bernardo Silva, he'll have a good career. But at the moment, he just doesn't have the physicality or the strength to play in central areas. So where do you play him? And a lot of people wanted McAllister in the 10, and I just kept on banging my head and saying, look, it's not just about playing in the 10. You have to understand how we play on and off the ball. How do you expect McAllister to jump the amount of times Szoboszlai instigates the press, and how unless Arnie Slot change the way he plays and change the ways he sets up and presses the team, then you've got a chance. But the way McAllister plays right now in a double pivot and goes in a 4-3-3, generally speaking, he's playing back to goal, but at least he's got Szoboszlai doing a lot of the running for him, and it works. But the problem, and Slot mentioned it yesterday, that Salah is Salah, his output, and more importantly, alhamdulillah, he doesn't get injured. But then you've got the integral importance of Szoboszlai off the ball. How is Harvey Elliott going to get a game?
Yeah, when you consider that Chiesa is being overlooked and Elliott's ahead of him, it goes to show where's Chiesa in all this as well. Chiesa's been fit, but he's not got on in any of the last 3 games against Wolves, Newcastle, and then yesterday. It begs the question: why did we pursue that Chiesa deal? Was it just to sign this? And I'm sure the club doesn't run like this just to get a signing and just to boost the squad or a bit of a positive, ambiance, or getting someone in just for a little, like a G up to the squad. Chiesa, I don't know. There's decisions to be made, but whilst that can be taken care of in the next few months, we have to enjoy the now, Asim. And look, we're looking good for the second leg, the Carabao Cup final in 2 weeks. Southampton Saturday, which me, Gene, and yourself will probably discuss more tomorrow, and we'll discuss about our potential lineup against Paris as well. But no, it's been a good
Good to be back, man. It's good to be back. I think in Ramadan there will be slightly later shows, Avi, around 10, half 10, because of the Tarawih prayers. But yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. And like you said, we'll discuss Saints, we'll discuss PSG, how we line up, and what we see. We didn't even discuss the league because we're 13 clear and the league is done. The Arsenal fans, I give his props to Alamin. He's been in the chat tonight, win or lose, where the likes of Tammy and Sully and Hamad, nowhere to be seen. But yeah, thank you very much for having us. Smash a like and all that good stuff. Subscribe to the channel. There's still about 1,000 people watching over Twitter. Make the switch because it helps us. And hopefully we'll catch you. What time are you going tomorrow, Abby?
Few bombers maybe tomorrow. Whatever time suits you boys. So tomorrow, 10:30, 11 o'clock, I think. Once the prayers are done. So yeah, and everyone that's performing Ramadan and everything, hope fasting and everything's going well, and prayers to you all.
Sorted. Thank you very much, people. Have a good one. We see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Anji.
We're still live.
What are we